Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sour and SaaS. Very excited today to be meeting with the CMO of Gtmhub, Jeremy Epstein. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
No, man, we're excited to have you. Now, I got some heavy-hitting questions.
I'm ready. Let's bring this. By the way, that intro music is money.
Oh, the creative team here is awesome. They do a lot of fun stuff for all the live shows and kind of bringing the content to life. It is Sour and SaaS.
Let's do this. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I've been so excited for this. I can't even tell you. And it's the greatest idea ever. Oh, yeah.
Okay. 9 o'clock in the morning, just chowing down on sour candy. Let's do it. All right. You've got a lot of plans, and they're kind of based on maturity. So if I look at your pricing page, you've got a lot of plans, and it looks like pricing tiers are based more on maturity than feature set, at least on the initial modeling. So how are you thinking about pricing kind of at Gtmhub, and kind of what's the logic between having, so many plans? I think if I looked, I think you at 4, correct? I think 4 plus enterprise, or no, 3 plus enterprise.
3 plus enterprise, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's not a huge feature difference so much as it looks like a maturity difference. So like you're fully committed, you're slightly committed, you're kind of committed, like based on your journey in OKR. So how are you thinking about pricing, and why based off of like maturity around the concept that your software supports, I guess?
Yeah, great question. I mean, look, OKRs is as much as a mindset as it is a methodology. And in fact, about 70% of first-time OKR implementations fail because people haven't really. It makes selling the software a little bit more challenging because people haven't really accepted the massive shift that's required from the old industrial 9-to-5 office efficiency mindset to this, work anywhere, anytime, outcome-oriented mindset. So what we've tried to do,
results only workplace environments, right? Where
exactly.
I mean, you either hit your number or you didn't, fam. Like, let's talk about it.
I mean, that's what I tell my team. Like, I have people in 7 different countries, and I'm like, look, I don't care where you work. I don't care when you work. I mean, if you have a call at noon, you should be there. But this is about outcomes, man. It's not about me micromanaging you, and it's not about the office. So what we try to do is really create plans that allow people to, be where they are, meet them where they are. We realize this is a journey, and so we want to help you begin your journey, because everyone is going to use OKRs by the end of this decade. Everyone, whether they use Gtm or Hub not, remains to be seen. But we want to give them the option to be where they are, give them that plan, and get comfortable, and then eventually they'll progress in their journey.
So let me maybe unpack what you articulated there and turn into a hypothesis of what you're trying to do from a marketing standpoint. So the hypothesis is you can decrease your churn by lowering the burden on an organization if they're new to it, and so it doesn't appear as if they need to cut you out before they had enough time to frankly get it adopted, and still let you do product-led growth with self-onboarding.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one way of looking at it. I'd also say, wow, this sour stuff really works. I'll say, look, because OKRs are a mindset and you are looking around getting to this outcome mentality, for some people, measuring the quote-unquote ROI is challenging. And as you practice OKRs, I mean, I call it OK religion. As you adopt the religion more, you start to see the value, and that grows. So we want to give you those hurdle rates where you're sort of like, okay, I don't have to hit this huge number. Oh, now I see how much value there is. I want to expand the number of seats, expand the features, do more integrations, have customer success, technical success teams, all of that kind of stuff. So we just want to make it easy for you because everyone can benefit from it.
I like that. Now, before I'd ask more marketing questions, I'll give you maybe a Gtmhub moment to talk about yourself. I was on Ally. Good software. I got no real complaints with it. Why is Gtmhub better than Ally? And like, because to me, just so like, I run our OKR. So I set the objectives and the key results for every department, and I put a lot of time and effort to it. And I've come up with my own methodologies. I know why it doesn't work. Like, I like to set key results as ratios instead of individual, so I can set fewer KPIs, but then measure more things. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a hack, right? Because the problem with a lot of times with OKRs is you have an objective, but the objective isn't connected to the North Star metric of the company. So you have a dissonance there. And then the key results aren't connected to the objective, and there's dissonance there. And then managers don't know how to have their direct reports focus on one or two things. So you got 5 key results, an objective, and then that objective doesn't even connect to the North Star metric of the business. And there's a lot of fragmentation. That's some of the gaps I've had to overcome after rolling this out for about 4 quarters and build my own methodologies. Like, hey, you're only allowed to have an objective, and the objective has to be the NSM, and you're only allowed to have 2 key results, period. And like tightening. So what is Gtmhub to help people who maybe aren't like me and spend an ungodly amount of hours rethinking goal setting? How do you maybe help someone do that naturally?
Yeah, great question. I mean, look, everybody in this space has brings their own perspective to it. I think for a couple things that we try to do differently. Number one is we try to make it as intuitive as possible or as helpful as possible for people to set their own OKRs. I mean, I will tell you that the most challenging weeks of my quarter are the last 2 weeks where I'm helping myself and my team set their OKRs. Designing the OKRs is by far the most challenging thing, as you know, number one. So we have an OKR design score algorithm that basically gives people ratings and feedback on the clarity, the effectiveness of their score, number one. Number two, our alignment tree. Basically what it allows you to do is to see visually how what you're doing affects other people in the organization, what the statistical correlation is between my OKR, your OKRs, or other people. So you actually know, if I do this, will it have a downstream consequence against the top level, most significant things. Number three, integrations. We don't want to change where you work. We don't want you to use new systems. What we want to be able to do is stitch in any system that you're currently using. So the architecture of Gtmhub is such that right now we support more integrations than anybody else in the industry, over 150, and we can pretty much integrate anybody within a matter of hours or days. So I think those things, enabling users to build the best OKRs possible, helping the entire organization align horizontally, see the relationships between OKRs, and then to have those retrospectives to make improvements going down the road, and then integrating the platforms and tools people are already using and comfortable with so that they can really understand how the business is working today and make those adjustments. That plus the fact that we have companies like Societe Generale, CNN, Adobe, Red Hat, big companies, all the way down to small SMBs who are using us in, over 1,000 customers in 80 different countries. We let the market speak for itself.
I love that. No, and I think along that line, I have a question for you because I thought this was interesting. You're doing self-onboarding for the most part, try free. But I would imagine, for your gross margin, your cash on hand, and just the financials of the business, you want to get more red hats. You want to get more CNNs. You want to get more of those large average order value type users that are going to, right, frankly, once they get you integrated, it's really hard to churn, right? Like it is because you're into their culture now of how they run their management organization. And managers don't look good if they change how they do goal setting all the time, right? So there's a really nice piece there, yet you're kind of doing this try-free self-onboarding. Do you find it difficult? And what are some of the things you're balancing as a CMO between having this self-onboarded product-led company with low plans, so you have to have a low CAC, frankly, for 90% of your customers, yet the 10% you probably really want deep down from a financial standpoint, you aren't able to totally market to because, like, I can see what you've done. You've turned down, like, you're very educational, entry level. Let me integrate your mind into what OKRs are in the way you're doing your content. Yet your ideal customer probably already has experience with OKRs to a certain extent. So how are you juggling that? I find it such a difficult thing.
I mean, that's a phenomenal question, man. We're really digging in. I'm not going to, this is not one of those, like, you did. I thought we'd have like a little bit of a fluffy podcast, but none of that bullshit. This is legit here.
We're getting real on strategy, man.
This is sour and SaaS, man. We're doing it. Okay, couple great angles in there. Look, number one is, and a friend of mine who worked at a big enterprise company, SaaS company, told me, he's like, look, 60% of my enterprise leads came through the product. Enterprise buyers are users. They want to be able to touch and feel the product. So for us, I want the product to be that, self-guided demo. I want it to be intuitive. I want it to have a great experience. I want people to say, like, okay, yes, because you do know that despite everything we're saying, people do judge the book by its cover. Fine, come in, use the product, see how it works, understand it, feel it. That's going to be a critical part for us, number one. Number two is, I don't think I agree with your statement that most of the enterprise customers have tremendous experience with the OKRs. They've heard about OKRs, but they haven't really adopted it, it's made it part of their culture. So we have to help them understand, and the best way to do that is through the product. So and third thing is, a lot of my marketing depends on everybody else, right? You have friends who work at big companies. You have, your sister-in-law works at wherever, and it's like, hey, I use this product. This could be good for you guys, and then that's how this happens. Most of the marketing I want generated is through word of mouth. That's how I'm going to be the most effective over the long haul. So the product is the single best thing I can rely upon as a CMO.
And let me rephrase that, I guess, because I agree with everything you're saying. There's this little thing I'm hinting at, I guess, I wasn't explicit about. Your brand is more SMB, and the way you articulate and educate is more SMB, in my opinion, as a guy who looks at SaaS websites for a living. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's like this really tough thing you're juggling. And I just want to hear from you. How do you juggle the fact that you're right? OKRs are early to the market. You need to be educational and you need to help, but you also can't seem as if you're not the elite at it. Right, so it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like Concur and Expensify. And I know that sounds like stupid because it's like that, but all the enterprise use Concur, even though it's a crap product, because you feel like once you're at Marketo and HubSpot, everybody uses Marketo, even though HubSpot's better. And I think we all know that, but there's like this thing that you graduate from HubSpot to Marketo it's just that, it's like when you graduate from Shopify to Magento, you graduate from WordPress to Sitecore. How are you positioning yourself or thinking through how do people not graduate from Gtmhub when it seems like the marketing is so early adopter, if that makes sense to a certain extent?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you probably, since we're on Sour and SaaS, I'd say we're actually much more enterprise than our presentation, and this is on me, and we've been shifting. So, our strength is enterprise because of the architecture of the platform. And the integrations and the clients and the size of the installations that we've done. I mean, we've done big installations. Your criticism is fair, and I think it's something we've been working on. But to your point, I think we have to find that fine line between being able to, like Intercom did, for example. Like, how do you find both sides of that market? And, maybe we overcorrected one way and then we're going to do it. But
I saw you had the partnership program because I was like, so I saw what you're doing. That's why my brain was conflicted because I'm really evaluating it. And I'm like, okay, they're more enterprise than they look because nobody who's not that enterprise puts partners in their freaking menu because you need a management consulting practice if you're enterprise to roll out change management to goal set because of how hard that is across so many departments globally. So I'm like looking at the whole thing, and that's where my brain was like, okay, I'm going to ask Jeremy, like, what is he really doing here? Because it's almost conflicting with itself, and I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, you actually, I mean, if this thing ever doesn't work out for you, you can come work for Gtmhub. We'd love to have you. But I think you nailed something. We're in fact the only software provider in the world that has no services component. You look at every single other player, they have a service component. We think that that's the wrong way to go. To your point, you can't do this without a great partner change management component. But we don't think you can be both a services and a software company. No, so we're just going to focus on a platform for scale and build the largest network. We have over 100 partners and we're growing at a ridiculous rate. Large partners all the way down to just people who've been in the OKR business for a while. So I think you're picking out the right things. The thing that we've been, if I'm being honest, trying to, I don't want to say struggle with, but we've been trying to refine is how do we present it in a way that's actually true to our brand? We want to be, professional, but have a personality. And too many of the enterprise have no personality, and that's not how we roll.
I love it. No, I love it. And, for me, we had to work with all these publicly traded or mid-market companies similar to yourself who are like in high, we don't work with anybody who's not in high growth or like already leaders kind of in their spaces. And it's the same issue, I think, for everyone as they go through these life cycles of their organization where this was our audience getting started. This is actually our strength. how do we navigate that positioning at the end of the day? It's really, because it's not just the visual positioning of the brand, it's the educational positioning of the brand. Like, are we positioning ourselves for a 5th grader or a 7th grader, but we can't go past that, right? And or is the sweet spot 6? And it's tough. And I see what you're doing, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, he's doing this delicate balancing act. And so along that balancing act, what's the marketplace? Like, how does the marketplace fit your strategy? I'd love to, like, I was trying to put this all together and I couldn't connect it. I didn't have enough time, probably is the other way of looking at it. But can you explain to me what marketplace does for you and like what you think other organizations maybe should be thinking about with marketplaces?
Yeah, sure. The marketplace, that's a great question. The marketplace is, you could think of it like the app store for OKRs, right? So if you come in and you're like, hey, the challenge, what's interesting about OKRs is also the marketing challenge, which is that there's not one customer profile. It's a mentality. It's somebody who thinks horizontally. How do you think about alignment? It's not just, oh, I'm just the CMO. We're not Marketo just for the CMO, right? So what have we done? We've created the largest marketplace in the world to allow any function to come in and say, okay, I'm a finance person. Let me see a template to get started to write the best finance OKRs. I'm an engineering person. Great. I'm a VP of engineering. I'm a product person. I'm a sales executive, a marketing executive. Go in, you click it, boom, you're off and running, and you have that template from which to build. Because as we said before, writing the best OKRs is the hard part. So we're going to help you and give you some of those templates that have been built by some of our partners so that you can actually go. And that way you sort of have that turbo boost right when you get started on the platform.
Now, a lot of people like Airtable, Cal's brands, for my brain blanking, but let's just say Airtable, Zapier, et cetera. They've grown through their templates and done a lot of product-led growth. Yours, though, are behind a sign-up and on a subdomain and don't go to a landing page that could rank organically. Are part of your strategy to maybe bring that marketplace into more of a landing page environment so you can lower your CAC and then create like better product integration between organic and product? So it's not like informational and bottom, but more functional.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, this is like, I feel like I'm standing here naked in front of you, so that's great.
Sorry, I like to interview this so people get new, you know what I mean? Like, this is what, if you're listening, it's so you don't hear another like, Jeremy, tell me more about your story.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, if I was on the other side of this show, it explains to me why you have one of the best shows in the business. Like, it totally makes sense to me. You know, I think we're paying off some technical debt right now. You know, when you grow as quickly as we do, or we've done. I mean, we did our Series B back at the end of December. We grew 4x basically last year. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And so we have these decisions. And then again, on our side of the house, it's like, well, where do you prioritize? You know, and I think I shared with you before, my marketing team at the beginning of 2021 was 3 people, me and 2 junior marketing managers. At the end of this month, I'm going to have 26, right? That's just marketing. Right. So we've been growing really, like 24 people on my team have been with the company for less than 6 months. And so,
they're not all ramp, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, despite that, I mean, it's I feel like the website is sort of the thing that I wanted to do almost last, even though it is the front page. And so, because there are all these landing pages that you don't see, obviously. So people are coming in through the landing pages, not necessarily the home page. So, you know, again, I'm paying off the technical debt. Trust me, it actually, we have a new website coming out next week. So hopefully it'll meet your exacting standards in terms of the story we're trying to tell.
No, I love it, man. I'm just getting excited about it because I can see how successful you've been and why. And like the way you're thinking about OKRs and how you do it and like the logos you have, I'm just trying to connect it all from like the consultant's perspective, right? As the guy who does this part for a living and trying to see it. And I actually genuinely really, really like it for content for you. So this is kind of like, you know, when you think about content, how much do you want to invest in your blog? Like, do you see it as a significant driver of revenue for you over the next?
Totally. We have the best blog in the industry. I mean, it's just, we have a program we call Voices of OKR. We get the best practitioners and the best influencers. For us, I don't want to use the blog to ram ideas down people's throats. I want to use our blog to basically create a platform for practitioners to come together to share. Because OKRs are hard, man. They're hard. I want people to know you're not alone. Other people have made mistakes. Here's what they've learned. This is a platform. And the blog is just a very transparent way of explaining that and creating a community, which we've done. We have a tremendous community of OKR.
That's on my list. I got you. I saw it. That's on my list because I love that. Because my point here is like, okay, so when I did all my research and I'm trying to learn OKRs, now I guess I do need to tell you, I didn't discover you. So I want to tell you that because I wish I had, because I'm stuck reading the like, what are OKRs, how to set OKRs. And they're all from someone who isn't a CEO of a 131 person company setting OKRs. They're all from like a consultant 10 years ago type, like, and it's not like the content's written by a guest writer, not someone who practitioners.
Right.
And so I ended up building up all my own methodologies. And I did that like for my executive team in our like offsite. It's like, here's our new methodology behind OKRs that I did from setting it for 4 quarters. Like, here's what's worked for us.
Right.
Here's what hasn't. Here's how we can do better. But it wasn't like that content exists. So I love that you're doing it that way. It kind of reminds me of the Moz blog. I don't know if you remember Moz.
Oh, yeah, right. Back in the day.
They did a great job getting guest authors who weren't like journalists, but practitioners to like share real in the weeds, like tactics. And I thought that was brilliant.
Well, that's I'll give it away. That's our content. That's our events. I mean, that's what we do. Is like, people don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear from Gtmhub. They want to hear people at the world's largest companies, how they're doing it. How are you implementing OKRs successfully? What are the things that you're thinking about? And so that's what we've been doing. I mean, it's just, I'm disappointed that we didn't show up at the top of your list, but I understand it because part of that's what we've been fixing over the last 6 to 12 months.
Well, you guys are new to it too, man. Like, I genuinely when did you guys start getting real traction? Like, do you think? Because I did a lot of this research for the competitors and stuff. I'd say early 2020.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, then I'll just say I've been enrolled for about 15 months. So let's just go with that. But, we didn't in the last year, the amount of traction we've gotten has been just tremendous. We continuously have our biggest revenue months, our biggest MQL months, our biggest MQL to opportunity conversion month. And in the last year, I mean, look, COVID's been horrific for everybody. But from an OKR perspective, as we move to this remote or hybrid workforce and you're trying to figure out how to do it, so that wave's been riding, and we've been talking about those issues. How do you deal with this, and how do you keep people aligned, feeling connected, feeling like there's meaning in what they're doing, seeing how what they do has an impact? All of that's connected. I mean, a year ago, I wish I could say we were in the game and we were getting that top level awareness. We weren't. But now, if you look at who's coming, like, we are in every conversation, and now we just have to prove that we're the best.
So if you had to take all your channels of marketing, and I think it's an interesting way of looking at it, and you had to cut all of them out except one, what do you think is the number one driver for you that you believe in the most today, tomorrow, and the future?
I mean, it would come down to the two that I would keep are the content engine and the events engine. Everything else.
I'd love to hear about that. Like, how are you doing events that don't just suck due to the world we're living in right now? You know what I mean? Like, how are you making events great? Like, what's your method?
We don't talk in our events. We don't talk, and we don't demo our software. That's not what the event's about. The event is about how do you build it? How do you help people connect with people like themselves from around the world? And we just give our customers and our prospects, help people using other products. We're just trying to create a community where people say, look, I know how to come together and share, because that's what people want. They want to know that they're not alone. They want to be able to, and they want a place where, it sounds like cheesy, but they want a safe space where they can say, dude, I'm having a hard time. How do I get my boss? Or how do I get this? Yeah, it's a hassle. Like, what do I do? I need a playbook. It's like, dude, it's okay. We've all been there. It's like a big therapy group.
Wait, because there's a subliminal thing no one's talking about, which is most of us executives don't actually like to be publicly held accountable, and OKRs make it happen. That's the thing nobody wants to talk about. But the truth is we either, because if you set OKRs and a lot of people don't like to hold other people accountable.
Right.
And if you set out OKRs and you don't hold people accountable to them, you're a weak leader. And most of us don't actually want to be strong leaders who have to hold every person below us accountable to something that we publicly stated. And that's that psychological thing that I think you're addressing so well with community, which is the core driver of churn and lack of adoption, is how much cultural change happens when you
It's all
publicly
culture.
state goals.
It's all culture.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. Now,
I'll tell you this, man, if I can add something, like OKRs makes you a better people leader. It really does. Like you give people, like I woke up on the first day of the quarter and I knew that everybody on my team knew what their outcomes were for Q3. I knew that they knew what everybody else's were. They saw how it aligned, and I could sit back and just get the hell out of their way and just say, you want to go on vacation? You want to lie on a beach? I don't care. You know what the outcomes are. Do it. Let me know how.
We're going to talk at the end of the quarter, baby. And it's not going to be personal. It ain't
exactly.
personal. You and I sat down. You said them. You agreed to them.
You're a professional. Exactly. It's so.
If you need a budget, you should ask for budget.
Exactly.
If you needed resources, you should have resources. The truth is, you didn't hit the number. Now we're going to have a coaching conversation, and I'm not the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the thing which is the historical problem is, well, no, my manager keeps moving the goalposts.
Right.
They pivot every week. I'm always doing this, but really,
that's the number one issue people complain about. I don't have clarity. And I say, I don't even care if you actually hit the number, because as you know, OKRs are designed to be stretched. So I know that there's a decent chance you won't hit it. But what I want to see is you keep putting one foot in front of the other, journey of 1,000 miles.
Aligned with the outcome, because as a manager, the hardest part is when our team gives us ideas, they forget that there is an explicit objective that you're being held accountable by the board, by the C-suite, that you got to hit, and they're giving you ideas that don't connect to that. And that's what I think you drive that alignment all the way.
And it makes me better because I don't come with some rando drive-by idea that drives them crazy, which I used to do. And the other thing is, instead of like it forces me to not do their job for them. They come to me and say, hey, I've been thinking about this. And if you decentralize the decision making, you're going to get so many better ideas that you never would have thought of. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome, man.
You're not on the front lines with them. You don't have that customer feedback.
I'm an idiot and I'm old. I don't know anything anymore.
No, it's just the older we get and the higher we get in an organization, the more people have beneath us, the less we actually freaking know. And I think that's the part that OKRs handles.
That is the truth, totally.
You're doing two things that are impossible to measure, and I'm not hoping for – I guess I'm hoping for a silver bullet, if we're being honest. I've got a great Slack community here called Society, and I believe in a lot of the stuff you're talking about. When I do – so like when I call our services, they're all customer-led. Like you have a customer-led content strategy.
Totally.
Right? Like I believe in customer-led, I believe in community, and I believe in making it about others and not yourself. Now, easier said than done. I think you all have executed phenomenally. I think we're getting there. How are you, though? Like, so I'll show you why I do my Slack community, and then I'll phrase the question. So I do my Slack community because I want to get someone, let's say in your case, from searching what is OKRs and being at the point of discovery and informational intent. And I want to drive a bridge between my brand and where they're at with intent to the demo or the proposal. I want a way to drive value bidirectionally to a prospect, not one way, which is traditional marketing ops. Get them in my email. Let's get their email, and I'm going to hit them one way. I want to go bidirectional and interact with them. And so I have a free Slack group where you can ask any question related to customer generation. You can DM me, and I will answer it. Like awesome. We're going to get real with you. Free consulting in our Slack group. We've got over 1,000 members.
Nice.
But what we do is we look at members in our marketing ops environment that are part of our community that have then booked later funnel sales actions. And then we try to drive ROI. And we know it drives ROI for us. How do you think about attributing so you can spend more money, let's say, advertising your community, or make it a more prominent CTA over try now, because you know most people aren't ready to try now, but everybody's ready for a community, right? Like, how are you thinking about where you position your community and how you measure its effectiveness?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, it's one of those things where I just know it works, and I know it comes down to trust. And it basically, at the end of the day, nobody really cares. Like, the only person who's like, I don't care about attribution that much because I know that it's a multi-channel, multi-touch world. What I want to know is how much money did I spend? How much did it cost me to generate an opportunity? That's it. Everything in between, I can like say, oh, I'm going to try a little more cayenne or a little more cumin or whatever, like do this. I know community works because I know that this comes down to, especially the enterprise, it's about people, trusting people. And if we're just here to help, and that's all we're here to do, we are here to help you on your journey from OKR curious to OKR religion aficionado and everything in between. We're just here to help. And if we build that relationship based on us helping you, when the day comes where you say, oh, I'm going to need a platform to do this at scale, we're going to have an opportunity. And then, may the best platform win.
I love it. I love it. Jeremy, thank you for being on Sour and Sass. Way to be. I just love how open you were and how real you were, because that's what I want, right? I want everybody living here just like you. It's not about me. It's about learning from you and hearing, like, what does someone in the trenches do when they're juggling a product-led company that wants enterprise? Right? That's not, like, let's be real. That is kicking everyone's butt. That's not like a Jeremy Gtmhub thing. That is a universal everyone thing. And I just love your perspective, man. This has been really, really cool.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
If people want to learn more about you, want to learn more about Gtmhub, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, gtmhub.com. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn, all the places. Definitely check out our gtmhub.com/blog. Subscribe to that. We give out great content. My big social is JER979 on Twitter. Also on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. But just Gtmhub. And if you want to hit me up and be involved in our community or anything, I'm happy to help along the way, because everyone's going to use OKRs. It's just a question of when you get there.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And that's Sour and Sass, everybody.